45 years ago this Sunday, the world fell apart for a young woman who was living her dream with her college-age roommates and on her own for the first time. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Debbie Ciccarelli was awakened by a noise on the other side of her bedroom wall. That's where Ted Bundy was trying to kill her roommate, Cheryl Thomas, by bashing in her head with a log as she slept. Debbie had no way of knowing what was happening in that room, nor would she ever have thought that a serial killer had broken into their house and chosen Cheryl's bedroom? The parallels to the Idaho murder case are freakishly similar. Debbie also froze, and instead of calling police right away, she called her boyfriend. And then when she did call 911, the 12 squad cars that came screaming up to the front of her house may have just scared Bundy into jumping out the kitchen window. It is possibly why she and her other roommates are alive today. Debbie's life was turned upside down in the years that followed because, of course, she became the star witness in the case against Ted Bundy. She was forced to come face to face with that killer dozens of times as he actually questioned her while acting as his own lawyer. Needless to say, as someone who has lived through this ordeal and who became a star witness, Debbie has so much that she can share with the two surviving roommates in the Idaho murders, from coping with the trauma to finding the strength to face an accused killer in court to helping to put him away. And Debbie Ciccarelli is kind enough to join me live now. Debbie, it's just such a remarkable series of coincidences like this, the similarities between what happened in the crime against you and your roommates and what happened in Moscow. When you heard about what happened in Moscow, how did it affect you? What happened?
At first, I didn't follow it too closely, but then for some reason, I was picking up on things. And again, yeah, as you said, they just seem so similar to what we went through 45 years ago. And it's just spooky about, he even resembles Bundy in his face. Someone on TikTok had taken a picture of Bundy and the suspect in the Idaho case and compared them. And again, it's just very freaky how they resemble one another, how he stalked the girls. We were told that Bundy had stalked Cheryl and that she was his main target. And he was upset because there were some gentlemen in a car outside our house and they scared him away. And supposedly because of that, he was angry, went to the Cayo house. And after he left the Cayo house, he came directly to our house, to Cheryl's side, and entered through the kitchen window and proceeded to beat her with a log.
The details are so horrific, and it's for viewers who don't understand maybe the reactions of Dylan Mortensen the night where she, told the police that she saw a man clad in black, walking towards her and then heading out the kitchen door. Can you go into those moments for you when you heard the noises through the bedroom wall and froze? Can you take me from there?
Certainly. So we had been sound asleep. We'd come in that night from being out together, and I had heard this. Our house was up on blocks, and I heard this loud banging, and it startled me. I woke up, and I listened for a little bit, and then woke my roommate up, and I said, "There's something going on next door." And the thing is, the wall between Cheryl's side and our side was so thin that we could actually talk to each other through the wall. And we had a system that if there's something we're not feeling right about, we're going to call you. You need to answer your phone no matter what. Well, I called over there. I could hear the phone ringing. I could hear Cheryl whimpering. But I just had this real unsettling feeling, sick to my stomach. I had no idea what was going on. We thought maybe our cat was having kittens, and there was all this commotion in Cheryl's room for that. But I immediately looked at Nancy, and I said, I'm going to call the guy I was dating at the time. He said, don't worry about it. I'm sure there's nothing going on. I had a few choice words, hung up the phone, immediately called 911. And they said, please stay on the phone. We're going to send a squad car. Of course, we had no idea what was happening at Cayo. And, as you said, next thing we know, there are, at least 12 squad cars and an ambulance at our house. it all happened so fast. And why I reacted the way I did, I don't know. I'm just thankful that I did.
And I suppose when you heard about the 8 hours between seeing the man in the, clad in black and the call to 911 in the morning, you probably had some insight that would be helpful for people who don't understand how Dylan didn't call in 8 hours.
Everybody reacts to situations differently. I can't give an explanation of why she reacted the way she did and why I reacted the way I did. Mine was, like I say, an instant gut feeling to call law enforcement within minutes of hearing this strange noise next door. And, I just hope that she is not taking any of this as her fault, and that she is seeking, reaching out to her family and friends. And when she gets to a point years down the road, as I did, I talk about it as much as I can to anybody and everybody. It helps. It's been very therapeutic for me.
For some reason, I keep, it's almost like something's making me stare at these cards. But for some reason, I'm feeling called to use it one more time. I don't know why. We're just going to go with it. Let's see. Chi Omega Killer. So Chi, like Sigma Chi. Omega, like Alpha and Omega, like greater than everyone. Ted Bundy. Theodore Bundy. Born November 24th. American serial killer. Assaulted and murdered young women and girls during the 1970s. Facing murder charges, he engineered 2 dramatic escapes before his recapture in 1970. Dramatic escape, that's what we were just talking about, kind of him escaping in front of Dylan. 2 dramatic escapes. Hold on one second. Wait, isn't Ted Bundy the one that everyone's comparing him to? Approaches victims in public places. Faking an injury or impersonating an authority figure. Bludgeoning them into unconsciousness and taking them to secondary locations. Often revisited his victims. So this is who everyone is saying that he reminds them of. I almost feel like this, remember I said that I wanted Xana to lead me to the right deck? I feel like this is confirming that what I just said was accurate. Like, and Eleanor. His biological father's identity has never been confirmed, which is interesting because they got Brian through his father's DNA matching the weapon on the knife. So it's kind of like, it's a connection. His original birth certificate apparently assigns paternity to a salesman and United States Air Force veteran. And wasn't there some kind of military symbol? For the first 3 years of his life, Bundy lived in Philadelphia. Wow, there's huge connections here. I'm going to have to look into this a little bit deeper. But just at surface level, I feel like this is a connection that the 4 are leading us, basically saying that the information that has come out so far has been from them. This is like a confirmation that we're right on track here. Bundy took pleasure from another human's pain and the control he had over his victims to the point of death and even after. Bundy once described his own self as the most cold-hearted SOB that you'll ever meet was the definition of heartless evil. That's how the four of us want us to view him as. We need to view him as if he had the same mindset as Ted Bundy. Had a conversation about it with someone who wanted somebody murdered. That seems like far-fetched, but there's some reason that it makes sense and comes together. I just can't figure out that direct reason. I almost am feeling, and I'm going to check this with cards, but I'm almost feeling like Brian's connection to this group or this organization did not begin when he went to Washington. I almost feel like he may have been kind of placed there or led there. Let me see what I get, because I could be off here, so let's just see what comes out. Ten of Wands reversed and Two of Cups upright. Yeah, he found something that helped him release or relieve his stress, pent up anger and frustration, something that gave him a purpose, something that, if I can't have a relationship with a person or a girl or a female, this is the next best thing because I can be passionate about this. So it's something that gave him purpose that didn't begin when he went to Washington. It could be that he was a part of something similar in Pennsylvania and there was something similar in Washington, but I'm feeling like it was one and the same, just transferred somehow. I have this like really deep gut feeling that like, so there's other serial killers that like were in that area. I almost feel like, is it possible that sometimes this organization just has people mess up so they have to release them? And I can't really all the way explain what I'm seeing, but it's almost like this, like almost like getting deeper into this organization with certain things that are done, but then if you're caught, it's just kind of like you got to roll over because you can't turn on the organization, because even if you get out, there's you might as well just stay in there. So like I almost feel like some of these serial killers from the area, or at least one of them, I feel like has a connection to this same group. And I'm not exactly sure who, but there's some kind of connection. There's somebody else. What I'm seeing is there's somebody else who made a similar to what Brian did, or needed to be cut loose in some way. That is a known killer that we just don't know about their connection to this group, if that makes sense. But there is a connection. So yeah.
Prior to moving to Pullman, Koberger finished a master's degree in criminal science from DeSales University in Pennsylvania. While there, Koberger studied under renowned forensic psychologist and author Dr. Catherine Ramsland, an expert on serial killers and mass murder. In her career, Ramsland, who in 2016 wrote Confession of a Serial Killer, also interacted with Dennis Rader, better known as the BTK killer for his method of murdering his victims: bind, torture, kill. Rader was sentenced to life behind bars for the murder of 10 people in the Wichita, Kansas area over a 30-year period. As Britannica goes on to note, Dennis Rader often wrote taunting letters to the authorities about the crimes he committed and referred to himself as the BTK killer.
BTK began today's letter with a question: how many do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper or some national attention?
Of the possibility that Brian Koberger may have been inspired by or even in contact with her father while studying under Dr. Catherine Ramsland, Rader's daughter Carrie Rawson told News Nation,
"It's hard to be the kid of this guy and live with this, you know, and then see somebody else go do this and wonder, did your dad influence him?"
In an unsettling coincidence, Rader also studied criminal justice in the midst of his own murder spree. Speaking with Fox News, Rawson said that it was common for criminology students to correspond with her father, and that the knowledge that Kohberger might have made contact with him as part of his studies made her stomach turn.
As I was doing that, I stumbled upon something very interesting. I noticed that in my reading of Summer, I was wearing a hoodie that said Faded Moon on it, and Moon is Summer's middle name. Summer Moon Utah Wells. So I knew that I had worn a Philadelphia Eagles hoodie before Brian had been arrested. So I thought that that was trying to confirm and interconnect between the two in a way that's saying the hoodie does hold some kind of significance, just as that hoodie ended up holding significance in the Idaho case. So I went to look at what particular readings that I wore that Philadelphia hoodie. And it turned out that the first reading that I ever did for Idaho, I wore the Philadelphia Eagles hoodie. And Philadelphia is another city in the same state as where Brian ended up being arrested. So this particular video right now has 12K views, and it's video number 27. My birthday is December 27th. So I felt as that was another interconnect to confirm that I'm looking in the right direction here. So that first video was just what happened in the Idaho case. The second video that I wore a Philadelphia Eagles hoodie was the suspect energy read, which was part 5. And Summer was 5 years old when she went missing, so part 5 aligns with that. And then after Brian had gotten arrested, and we knew he got arrested in Pennsylvania, I had that hoodie on for a reading, and I was already set to start the reading, and I realized that I was wearing the hoodie, and I turned the hoodie inside out, the Eagles hoodie. So in this reading about Brian's family's energy, which I feel is key here because we're talking about Summer's family. In that one is when I turned the hoodie inside out. So I'm wearing the Eagles hoodie, but it's inside out. So I thought those things were all very significant.